On today's episode, Dennis and I get a little bit of a realization. Dennis, there was a point in time in today's episode, and if you guys are going to watch this, you'll see the light bulb go off on mine and Dennis's uh, head, a little light bulb come up above our head at the same time. And this was a really interesting one because I think for us in accountability and the way that we run our businesses, we all have a tendency to do things, especially if we were taught a specific way or something that's worked. Dennis, I know that you and I have had this discussion in terms of like even the podcast, like mixing things up and doing things differently. How did this one resonate with you?
This one was when we first started, I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I'll be honest. Um, our guest is Marc Wolfe. We've had him on before. He's great,
Oh
but I
yeah.
wasn't sure exactly what we were going to be talking about. And then we get in here and it's like, to Benny's point, it clicked somewhere in the conversation. It's like, oh God, this actually does apply to me personally, as well as business professionally. And so this, if you, I encourage you to listen to this one, or watch it. Watch it because just watching our faces is kind of fun, and just kind of seeing our responses. So it's really good.
Marc is a coach and an author of a bestseller called Yeah, But. And today we started out just kind of a genuine, interesting conversation, but where it takes an absolute right turn for us, you guys will see it, but it really, it really made me say, oh gosh, I get it. So I encourage you guys, take a listen to this one, take a watch. This is a really good podcast today.
WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
I think that getting in a rut and hearing the same things over and over again has a tendency either to be a really limiting thing, or it's something that potentially, stops us from achieving our full potential. If I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm paying attention to the wrong things. Dennis, I don't know. Do you encounter this in your business life every day, or?
Oh yeah, I mean we see, one, we're dealing with change, so change creates challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in many cases for companies and even people, sometimes it's easier to keep doing the same thing, even though it's not the right thing, or there's a better way, that they'll just keep doing it because it's comfortable. And they'll come up with all kinds of excuses. And then, and today there's chaos, but there was chaos in the past, and there's been chaos throughout the years. It's just different chaoses. And if you allow chaos to control you, you don't make good decisions, versus if you're really thinking ahead and trying to do the business correctly, it opens up so many more opportunities. And if you surround yourself with people that are talking chaos, you just think chaos instead of thinking positive.
Mm-hmm. Well, today we have our resident expert that we're bringing back again today. Marc, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, thanks, Benny. Thanks, Dennis. It's always great to talk about business and talking about thinking differently, because it's just not about thinking differently. It's about acting differently, because that's when the change happens.
Mm-hmm.
We already think things all the time. I mean, some of them about what things aren't going well, but when we actually act on some of the thoughts that we're a little uncomfortable, well, that's when we really move past our yeah buts.
So let's kind of think about this from a daily basis. Some of us who've been doing our company, have running our companies for some time now. We've gotten into routines. We've gotten into seeing things a specific way. Maybe we have habits that seem to work, but maybe either we're not growing or we're just maintaining. We're not really achieving what we had hoped for. How can you address that? Can you talk a little bit about that, Marc, and what that looks like for some people, and maybe even the dangers about kind of falling in that routine?
Well, routines are an amazing thing because it allows us to be able to do repeatable processes. I mean, think about brushing your teeth. Most people don't think about it, but if you don't do it, there's going to be ramifications, mostly for other people who smell your breath. But I mean, think about it. Routines are things that are safe. here's the things, when they become habits that you get into a rut that actually doesn't let you think beyond the habit. And that's when really there's a danger. So what do I mean? I mean that businesses don't think about what the next evolution is. Small businesses, including mine, I got to be like, well, what's the effects of AI on executive coaching and consulting and strategy? Like, think about what's the effects on having meetings remotely versus in person. And some of these we've addressed, right? Some of these we had to either dive into and, with using Zoom or recording remotely. But here's the things. You got to think about what's changing that you're not thinking about or you're avoiding.
Hmm.
What's the next thing you're supposed to do with your business? And another great example is, how do you make sure that your clients, and if things have changed, are being satisfied today in a way that the world's evolved? So overnight shipping, right? If you don't offer that, you're behind. If you say I have a $60 or $100 minimum, most of the time I'm going to go somewhere else and be like, I can't believe I have to spend $100 when I want to buy this, because Amazon has spoiled me. And even small companies have spoiled me to be like, well, shipping's free at a certain level, or you can pay a subscription and get shipping. What else is going on with your business, with its infrastructure, with its software, with the way that your employees or contractors interact with you? How are you thinking about that? We are like, what's the next iteration of what I'm doing? And most people think, Mark, I barely have it together with what I'm doing now. Well, that's where we have to go and look and say, what's a standard you want to create and where do you want to grow and go to?
One of the things that we encounter on a daily basis, and in these times today, as an example, and Dennis and I, we talk about this all the time. You had kind of touched on it a little bit, is about AI, right? And as an example, incorporating artificial intelligence into my business, people who aren't familiar with it or don't know really how to use it, they're hearing it from, all four sides. You got to use it. You got to incorporate it. You got to do this. Is it at some point a distraction for us? I mean, when do we know that there are certain things that we should be doing and incorporating that into our routines or into our business? And when should we be knowing that really is something we need to kind of ignore or table or address it something? How do we address that, Mark?
So you really have three choices with almost any of your choices. You can ignore them, you can investigate them, or you can implement them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
think about that. Let's go back. Social media. Was it a distraction in the beginning or was it a necessity? And when people say that you're supposed to be on all these platforms and, if you're not on TikTok, you're going to be missing an audience. And I was like, well, I'm not really a fan of the audience at TikTok because 18 and 30-year-olds aren't really buying executive coaching packages and consulting packages. So yeah, I could be there and I could be popular because you could watch me dance and it would go viral because it's that bad. But the point is, it wouldn't help me grow my audience to help my business. So being somewhere doesn't mean that you're gonna. So a distraction. What do you got, Dennis? I see you. I see you thinking
No.
about something.
No, you're on it. You're exactly. I'm visualizing you dancing. I'm thinking, oh
Thank
no.
you. Well, you go in the video, so I wanted to put that in there. Yeah, it's very awkward. Can't do the Macarena at my wedding, and there's video to prove it. So here's the thing. It's if you look at AI or any distraction or any opportunity, you can look at it and say, how does it matter to me? What do I need to do? And who do I have to be around that's actually doing it well in my genre? Or like you could look and go, well, this huge company that spends billions of dollars is doing it really well. I should do it. Well, that might not be a great model for you unless you have that much money. I use AI to go and help improve the videos that I do for social media. I create clips and reels and they get a lot more views because I use AI to go and analyze 30 or 45 minutes of it, find clips, put in the closed captions, etc. And then I get more views on that because people want to watch 30 seconds, not 30 minutes, right? So I use AI for that, but I use it for lots of different things. But until you play with it and try it, you don't really know. And then you want to outsource it because then you can start playing with it and then be like, hey, this is kind of fun. And then you forget your day job, which is actually selling or creating or leading. So it can become a distraction, but so can woodworking or growing plants or, or golf can be a distraction unless you use it for a purpose and you define what the purpose of why you do it is. Let me say that again. If you don't define why you're doing something, then you're never going to measure if it's really meeting or exceeding your goals, no matter what it is.
And you think back, that's why I love people that ask the why questions when I'm meeting with people, because a lot of times it comes up, they don't even know why they're doing it. And in a group, sometimes a company, they've done a process for years. Nobody ever stop to ask why. And when they do, it's like, well, we don't need to do that anymore. That's stupid. And so I love the word why. I mean, I just think it's the best one out there, because a lot of times you don't get answers that are valid. It's always because we've always done it that way.
So let me touch on that. As a coach, I don't ask why. I ask another way to say why. I ask, tell me more about that, or
Sure.
how did that become? Because why can seem accusational. So when somebody hears why, they're like, why'd you do that, Dennis? And that sounds like, you did something wrong. But what you're really trying to get to is the root of tell me more. And then when people have to explain it, and you can use this for anything, right? You just tell me about that process. And when they explain it, here's a great example I use all the time. So you have stand-ups. People have weekly meetings. We're going to meet every Monday at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. Great. For what purpose? Well, we always meet once a week to get the week started. Great. So how do you have these meetings? Well, everybody has to show up. And I was like, do you do report outs? They're like, well, yeah. I was like, so could some of these things be an email before that people read before? Well, people aren't going to do that. Oh, so it's an accountability meeting. And people do the work right before the meeting, and that's what you hold them to? Well, yeah, most of the time. Okay, well, then you have a culture or a process problem that people are only doing it because you have the meeting. You don't understand why the meeting. Well, it serves this purpose. Is there another way to serve that purpose where you get people to be able to do and be able to react on things versus it being a deadline driven? They actually think, I need to get this done because it's informative? Or are they just doing it because it's not informative and they're doing it because you're asking them, because you never asked why the purpose of the meeting was? You got to start looking at everything you do and actually asking what the purpose of it is. And let me give you a practical example. You had a hard day at work, right? You work 60 hours, you got kids, you got a wife, you got all these things going on. You just want to go and sit and watch TV, right? No matter what it is, sports, anything. Or you want to go through and you want to binge watch your favorite show. And 3 hours later, because you wanted to unwind, I ask, and I talk about this in Yeah, but I don't have time. I talk about so do you ever measure at the end of 3 hours, did it really help you unwind? Do you really feel better? Did it really satisfy that need? And most people don't ask that. And then if they did, they'd be like, actually, it didn't. And I was like, okay, then maybe doing something else would be better.
Yeah.
That's a simple example of that. We just do what we do because I just don't want to do this other thing. Well, is there a better thing to do than just not doing work?
Yeah. Wow.
That's yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm sitting here thinking about that. I was like, okay, I do like to binge watch my TV. So is there any benefit to it? No, not really. But it's more just a habit. And
Oh,
to your point,
yeah.
we moved 3 months ago here. I've tried to break that habit of not sitting there watching TV, getting up and doing something productive. It's amazing how much more stuff you get done when you're not just sitting there watching the tube.
Yeah. And so I just think about it this way, right? I'm not against TV, but what I do is I have a list of things that are non-work oriented that I would do that would actually give me more joy. Like, I love my town where I live, right? I mean, I left New Jersey. It's probably easy to love anywhere after you leave New Jersey, but I live in Franklin, Tennessee, and I love it. So I decided, I was like, I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not going to be in better shape unless I start exercising. And I'm really not a big fan of the gym. I mean, I'm alone. I know you guys are gym rats, but me, not so much, right? So, so I started walking around Franklin, right? And I would do 3-hour walks, and I would go in 3 miles or whatever it was. And I was just like, I came back and I was like, I exercised. I went and saw people. I went and got out and saw new areas. And I was like, that was so much better than binge watching TV. And it didn't have to be every day. It was just a list of things that I was like, what can I do instead?
Right.
Wow.
I mean, that's mine. I mean, we moved to a new area. I to your point, I try to get out after dinner and walk for 30 minutes. And it's amazing how many other people are out walking. So it's a great way to meet new people, come in converse. And we have a dog. And so she meets everybody and everybody's her friend. So everybody stops and talks to you because you got a dog with you. So, I mean, I think, but the old way was just sitting around watching TV after dinner.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
it seems to me too, Mark, that there's a lot to kind of that whole thought where that's the way it's been done. You know, we've done it this way for 30 years, and it's worked for us so far. This seems, I think, along these lines, the company we keep, right? Whether they be, from a personal perspective, the friends that we have, the executives that help run the company, our management team. It seems to me that that kind of mentality would kind of leach into that as well, where that's the way it's always done, and we're not asking, where what's the focus here? What are we doing this for? Right. I think along the lines, and you had mentioned this, before, we got on the podcast here, that it could be something that we have to really hold ourselves accountable for and look at.
So being around other people that think differently than you, right, allows you to see things differently. I'm curious. Today, I'm Italian. You can't tell by the last name Wolf, but my mom was 100% Italian, right? And, in the South, there's not as many Italian people as there was in New Jersey and New York, of course. So I went to a chamber event that was about Italy because there's a big Japanese community here, and there's a lot of other business that's been done from the UK. But Italians produce a lot of tile, and there's natural resources here. So I went, and I wanted to connect in a way where that's not such a big community. But imagine getting in with a community that's growing here, right? It's not about Italians. It's about community that's growing there, to meet people that are trying to get grounded here. And you could be part of that. Well, if you don't go to meetings and you don't meet people that are different than you, and you only meet people that are in your business or socioeconomic status, you're not going to get to see people that maybe need your help, because I'm not 20 anymore. So I'm supposed to be teaching more than I was when I was 20 and I was still learning. I'm still learning, but we're supposed to give back. So maybe my job is to help Sherpa people that have been, here 6 months versus 20 years. And to be able to go and talk to people that are the future of your business because they have ideas you didn't see. And then talk to people that are non-technical when you are technical, to hear how they hear software and what they do. Because you have the curse of knowledge probably in your business. And you know what that means? That means you know it so well that you forget that other people do not know it well. And one of my favorite examples is, imagine you have an old car, right? They have Cars and Coffee over here, and there's people that get together with their old cars. And people still go on YouTube to learn how to go and change a brake or change a tail light on a 57 Chevy, right? Well, that car's been around forever. How would they? Well, because there's still new people getting that car or want to learn. So I think what's old is new again when you have different people. And I think every business needs to infuse moving past what holds them back. Yeah, but I don't have time. Yeah, but I don't have, what's the plan? Yeah, but what if I fail? And then the biggest one, yeah, but what are other people going to think? Some people are so worried about what everybody thinks that they keeps them from doing anything new, including your employees who are worried about what the boss thinks, even in a small company.
Oh, sure. Exactly.
Yeah, this one actually hits home a little bit, and I've mentioned this, talked to Dennis about this. I used to be in an organization called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and the thing about, we would have these groups called forums, and the forums, we were non-competitive. It was not a networking group. We were really sharing business ideas and thoughts and the way that we would conduct business. And one of my friends in the group, um, he had mentioned, an idea, needing some help with marketing. And I come from a telecommunications and technology background, and I he was talking about something, and it seemed very obvious to me. It's the way that we had done things for years in technology, but in his particular space, he'd never even heard of this before. Never heard of this technique or way be able to doing. And for those of you wondering what it is, I can't remember the exact details of what the conversation was. I just remember the effect of talking to them about the way that we approached it, and at the end of the day, what was revolutionary for him was something that we had been doing, I had been doing for decades. And I thought that was an interesting take. And the learning point for me, Mark, and what you're saying, it just hit home, is that I pay attention now to the plumber or the dentist who is kind of approaching things differently. And I rarely now, I shouldn't say rarely, I'm careful now about taking some of the advice from people who are doing the exact same business, because we're doing the same things, but I'm interested in learning what that person who runs a hotel and what they're doing to retain their customers and to do something unique and interesting.
Yeah, Ben, you think back a few weeks ago, we had Anna about the tailoring industry and how she's
Mm-hmm.
incorporated
Anya.
AI
Yep.
into that
Mm-hmm.
one. I mean, that was amazing how an industry you wouldn't even think about that, and how she's incorporated and taken it to a whole nother level. And she's not sitting back waiting for someone's opinion. She's got a vision. She knows what she's doing, and she's going after it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool. I
It
mean,
was a great talk. Yeah.
it's those are the types of things. Because it would have been easy to say, "Oh yeah, but it's a tailor. Nobody would ever think about applying AI to this." Well, guess what? It is, and it's actually going to make her probably a ton of money the way she's approaching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's opportunities in everything. And I think that's fixed versus growth mindset. So, fixed mindset, and I talk about this in the book, is when somebody, like John McEnroe had a fixed mindset, and so did Lee Iacocca. People are like, what do you mean? I mean, he was amazing at tennis, and Lee Iacocca turned around Chrysler. They blamed everyone else for the problems,
Mm-hmm.
not owning it themselves at all. So it was always everybody else. So just think, you can't change your boss, right? And I mean, I've owned my own company. It's hard enough to change me as my own boss, right? The thing is that what you can do is control your own environment, so you can get to a level where you can work with other people on your team and be able to at least change the things you can change. If you're repressed enough where you feel like you've outgrown your organization, then you have to look at other opportunities that say, well, if I can't continue to grow here, and I have a purpose, and I'm created for a purpose, and I'm supposed to accomplish something, if this business is holding me back, and people look and go, well, the job market's tough. And I was like, so your loss of the most valuable asset, which is time, is less important for you to leave than it is to stay and be miserable? I don't understand that, right? So
Yeah.
these are more buts to overcome, and talk to other people who have done it
Yeah.
and what
No,
they've overcome.
I look back on my life. A lot of times, to your point, it was easier to stay where you're at until then you get laid off. And it's like, it actually opens the door. But you're afraid to do it because you like the salary, or you put up with it, and it's comfortable. It's not good, but it's a routine that you're comfortable with, and versus making that jump and going. And I know right now there's several companies cutting back, laying off, that kind of thing. Look at it as an opportunity. It's a great chance to kind of step back, redesign yourself, and come back into the marketplace in a whole different light and enjoy life. 15 years ago, I was working at a company and we had a layoff, and today I do podcast and work solutions, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's like God opened that door 15 years ago that I would never have opened.
Somebody had to kick your butt, Dennis. That's
Exactly.
the problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be able to be forced out, because good is the enemy of great. And today, and what's meh is good enough for. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not good with meh. And guess what? Many of the millennials and the younger generation aren't good with meh anymore either. If you actually look, they're actually going to accomplish more, because they question a lot of things that we didn't question, and our grandparents never questioned.
Oh gosh, no,
right?
not at all.
So we have more opportunities to be able to go and do more. But what I wanted to do with But is really just ask these questions and provide perspective. And that's what your podcast does too.
Yeah. No, it's hopefully opening people's eyes, bringing on guests like yourself that, again, you may know some of this stuff, but it just kind of triggers you. I know every time Benny and I do a podcast, we talk afterwards, there's always something that comes to light that I hadn't thought about. And that's the beautiful part about this.
Yeah.
You get free coaching. Look at how smart you guys are.
Exactly. Start a podcast.
Listen, that's
All
why I
right.
started a podcast. I wanted to start a podcast because I got to interview really cool people talking about their yeah buts, which is my book. I mean, how do you get to do that? That's wild. So
Yeah, and tell what's the name of your podcast, Mark?
it's called the Yeah But Podcast, and that's but
Yeah.
with one T, not two T's. Yeah, but.
Right.
Okay. And we interview people like ex-CIA agents that were in cyber. There's an episode coming up about a tight end who won the Super Bowl under Peyton Manning. There's some people who have gotten people out of human trafficking. Why? They all talk about their yeah buts. So I want to show that people in diverse industries, not just business, have yeah buts. And each one of these people have overcome it because yeah, but is a real thing. We say it. And if you don't say it, you're thinking it. And if you're not thinking it, somebody else is thinking it for you. And that's why you got to be around the right people so they can help you bust your yeah buts, or spend $9.99 and buy a Kindle version or a paperback version of yeah but, and I can help you cut through the noise.
There you
I
go.
love it. So Mark, actually, while you were on the topic there are going to be people who have some questions, and maybe they want to understand a little bit about coaching and what that all looks like for their business, whatnot. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
They can Google me, or you even use ChatGPT. If you actually type in yeah but and Marc, M-A-R-C, Wolfe, W-O-L-F-E, I come up organically, no paid ads. And just think about what we just did here, guys. I didn't preach about coaching people and tell them they have to do something. This is the way I am. If you want change, you listen to podcasts, you read books, but that's not the best part. The best part is executing and implementing something. Listening is information. Acting is change and then wisdom. That's what you got to do, is act on something. So most of the people we can't do it alone because we have that self-talk in our head. Just think, if somebody came up to you and told you half the garbage that you hear, if somebody else said it, you wouldn't buy it. But when you say it, you buy your own garbage, right? You buy your own head trash.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Sometimes you need somebody outside that might be from the north that's now in the south that actually calls it like it is.
That sounds good. Well, Mark, listen, there's been so much that we covered today, and I love hearing about this, and certainly your perspective is refreshing, and I know Dennis and I are going to be talking about this one. But thank you so much for stopping by on the podcast today. We really appreciate it, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and insight.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for going to video so they can watch our faces now.
That's
as we
right.
actually
That's
do
right.
this. I love that.
Yeah, the dumb look on my face from going, oh, yeah, that was a great idea.
Thanks for keeping it real like you always, guys. You guys always
Mark,
do. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. So this is a wrap of this one, and enjoy your week.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to WFH with Two Guys. We'll see you next time.